What if you could boil down the essence of all life? I'm talking everything from a blade of grass to you and me, to just 3 core elements. Well, we're about to dive into a philosophical framework that does exactly that. It proposes 3 treasures that basically animate our entire existence. And here it is, the core idea right up front. The source material tells us that emotion, love, and nature, or as they're called, Qing, I, and Sing, aren't just parts of life. They are the treasures that give it all its meaning and vitality. Keep these 3 words in your back pocket, because trust me, everything else we're going to talk about flows from them. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll define what these 3 treasures actually are. Then we'll see how they apply to literally all beings. After that, we'll get into the idea of a hierarchy they create, unpack the really important difference between emotion and love, and finally, see how this all points towards a concept of ultimate freedom. All right, let's kick things off by defining the 3 treasures of life. The source puts this in a really stark way. A life without these 3 treasures, it isn't really considered alive. It's like a stone, just a body with no vitality, no spark. So these aren't just, nice to haves. According to this philosophy, they are the absolute, non-negotiable requirements for life itself. Okay, so next up, we're going to see how these treasures aren't just a human thing. The idea here is that all beings have them, from the smallest plant to us. First up is Qing, which we can translate as emotion or feeling. Think of this as the whole rainbow of psychological responses a being can have. Everything from joy and anger to sadness and even fear. It's the rich inner world of reactions to what's happening on the outside. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because this philosophy applies Qing universally. It argues that even plants have it. They flourish when you take care of them, and they wither from neglect, which is actually described as a form of fear. Of course, animals show a much wider emotional range. And then there's us, humans, with our super complex feelings like friendship and gratitude. Next, we have I, or love. And you really got to pay attention here, because this is a critical distinction. I isn't just another emotion on the same level as Qing. Nope, it's described as a fundamental state of consciousness, a steady, unwavering energy that just radiates outward from a game. And we see this love expressed differently everywhere. A plant's eye is its selfless offering of shade, of beauty, of its fruit. An animal's eye is that fierce, powerful protection of its young. And humans? Well, we have the potential for the biggest expression of I, with the ability to extend it to all of humanity and even existence itself. Our third and final treasure is Xing. Now this one has kind of a 2-part meaning. On one hand, it's the inherent nature or structure of a being. You could call it its essential blueprint. But it also refers to its fundamental drive for an energetic exchange with another being, which, most often shows up as sexual activity. It's about what you are and what you need. And once again, we see this across all of life. For plants, Xing is basically pollination. The source even points out that some trees have distinct male and female forms that exchange energy. For animals, it's that raw instinctual drive to mate. And for us humans, of course, Xing becomes this much more complex mix of need, desire, and the search for an energetic balance with someone else. So if all beings have these 3 treasures, what makes one higher than another? This is where this really cool concept of domains comes into play. It's not just that you have emotion and love, it's about how far they reach. So what is the real difference between what we might call a low-level life and a high-level one? Is it intelligence? Is it physical power? This philosophy argues the answer is something else entirely. The answer is all about breadth. The key difference is the size of a being's domains. A life whose love and care is confined only to itself is considered lower level. But a being whose domains are so huge they can encompass all of existence? Well, that, by definition, is a higher level life. And this creates a pretty clear ladder, right? Down at the bottom, you've got a narrow domain. An animal just caring for its young, or a person focused only on their immediate family. Move up a level, and you have a broader domain, feeling for all people and for nature. That's the level of what they call celestial beings. And at the very top, the universal domain, where your love extends to literally everything. This is the realm of angels or bodhisattvas. Okay, let's zoom in on something really important now. We touched on this earlier, but it is so critical we're giving it its own section. And that's the real difference between Qing, or emotion, and I, or love. It really boils down to psychology versus consciousness.
So here's the difference in a nutshell. Chin, or emotion, is reactive. It's psychological. Someone is kind to you, you feel happy. Someone is cruel, you feel angry. It goes up and down with whatever's happening around you. But love, is a stable state of consciousness. It doesn't change with circumstances. Its only expression is joy. The Source uses this beautiful analogy: an orchid in a lonely valley smells sweet not because someone is there to enjoy it, but because that is its essential nature. That is I.
All right, for our final section, let's bring all this home. Let's see how all these ideas lead us down a path toward ultimate freedom by expanding our reality.
The practical takeaway here, the so what of all of this, is that the path to becoming a higher being is through actively and consciously expanding your domains. It's the practice of stretching your feeling and your love beyond just yourself, out to your community, out to nature, and ultimately to the entire universe. This whole journey of expanding one's domains, of evolving your state of being, it's all a journey toward freedom. But what's the end game here? What is the final ultimate freedom that this philosophy is pointing us toward? And here we have it, the final, and maybe the most provocative conclusion from the Source. After this whole journey of expanding your emotion and love to a universal scale, this framework states that sexual freedom, the complete fulfillment of one's essential nature, their zing, is the ultimate freedom of life. It's a challenging idea, for sure. It suggests that true freedom isn't just about expanding our consciousness outward, but also about perfectly balancing that fundamental energy within.